Good afternoon, my dear students. Welcome to our daily news analysis. Today we shall discuss the Hindu dated December 9. As I mentioned through our application, today we shall be discussing the goods and services tax as a special topic. So, apart from the newspaper analysis, we shall be discussing the goods and services tax. I shall tell you why taxation, what are the different forms of taxation, and then there will be a special reference to the GST. Good afternoon, everybody. I request all of you to subscribe to our social media channels. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, give likes to our Facebook channel. Today we had a session at 8 o'clock, a session on English, and there will be another session, live session at 3 o'clock. Make sure that you attend all the sessions. Through all these sessions we are pumping in questions, with live sessions taking almost 3 hours time. Make sure that the regular videos do not take the back seat. So, let us begin. Hindu dated December. This is goods and services tax. One second. Let me take the pen. We are going to discuss the goods and services tax. Why taxation? Taxes are the legitimate source of income to the governments, whether it is the central government or the state governments or even the local self governments. Taxes form the legitimate source of income. We know that governments require money. Governments are building roads, maintaining law and order, managing courts of law. So, there are plenty of government jobs that are done to make the society an orderly one, for which governments require money, and taxes form the legitimate source of income to any government. Tax is a leveler. People having, or people of the high income group, they will be paying more tax, but roads are built for all. So, tax or taxes level people. Taxes are a leveler. Sometimes tax is discriminatory. Governments sometimes think that certain goods people should eat or drink. Take the case of milk and egg. Milk and egg are the universal sources of protein. So, the governments want people to have milk and eggs in their daily diet. So, governments will keep very minimum tax on that. In India, milk and eggs are not taxed at all. So, but government will keep taxes on liquor very high, because government does not want people to consume liquor much. So, tax can be discriminatory. There are two types of taxes, progressive and proportional. Proportional means as a proportion to your money, your income, you will be taxed, proportional tax. I get 1 lakh rupee, I have to pay 30% tax. You get 30% of 1 lakh, you get 2 lakh, you will be taxed 30% of 2 lakh, that is called proportional tax. Progressive means taxation based on slabs. In India, we follow the progressive taxation in the case of direct taxes. For example, for income up to 5 lakh, no tax, 0%, 0 tax. Above 5 lakh to say 10 lakh, say 10%. Above 10 lakh to 20 lakh, say 20%. Above 20 lakh, say 30%. So, the higher the income group that you belong to, the rates of taxation also changes. This is called progressive taxation. So, what do we follow? We follow progressive taxation in the case of direct tax. Now, Article 256 of the Indian Constitution says that no tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. This is the constitutional guarantee. No taxes shall be levied without the authority of law. There are two types of taxes, direct and indirect. In both the cases, taxes are paid by the taxpayer, taxes are received by the government. Government is the only agency that can collect tax from people. In the case of direct tax, there is no intermediary. The taxpayer pays the tax directly to the government. But in the case of indirect tax, there is an intermediary called sellers. So, what is their job? They collect tax due to the government from the taxpayer and pass it on to the government. That is the difference. Another difference is that if you do not pay your direct tax, government will book you. But if you do not pay your indirect tax, government will not book you, but government will book the seller of service or goods who are supposed to collect tax from the taxpayer and pass it on to the government. So, the legal liability is vested with the taxpayer in the case of direct tax, but the legal liability to collect and pay the tax to the government is with this intermediary in the case of indirect tax. So, you know what is direct tax, you know what is indirect tax. We shall be looking particularly on indirect tax today because GST is an indirect tax. Okay. Direct tax examples are given: income tax, wealth tax, gift tax, minimum alternate tax. Indirect tax, customs duty, excise duty, sales tax, service tax, etc., etc. These are all the examples for direct and indirect taxes. Services were taxed from 1994 July 1 onwards. So, before 1994 July 1, services were not taxed in India, only goods were taxed. From 1994 July 1 onwards, services were taxed in India. So, what are the tax collection bodies? We know that there are three types of governments that we have: the federal government or the central government, we have the state government and the local bodies, local self governments. So, central government collects income tax, customs and central excises. For example, state agriculture income tax, sales tax or VAT or state excise duty, and these are the local government taxes, property tax and water tax. These are all examples for taxes levied by different forms of governments. Indian Constitution is very particular about which authority should tax what. Broadly, taxes can be classified into four groups. One, levied by the central government and consumed by the central government. Who has got the authority to levy? The central government. And who uses that taxes? The central government. Category number 1. Category number 2, levied by the central government, divided between the center and the states. Levied by the central government. So, who has got the authority to levy? The central government. But who consumes that? Divided between the center and the states. Third, levied by the central government, distributed among the states. So, the authority to levy is with the central government, but the proceeds are distributed among the states. The fourth category, levied by the state government, consumed by the state governments. So, these are the constitutional references on taxes. Now, indirect tax history. Only goods were taxed till June 30, 1994. Services were yet to be taxed in India. From July 1, 1994, services have been taxed. So, what is meant by services? Broadly, the industry can be divided into goods and services, manufacturing and services. Manufacturing industry means all products that are manufactured, consumption goods, etc., etc. Rice, wheat, almara, television, all are goods. Services, banking is a service, telecommunication is a service, Indian Railways provide you a service. So, these are all examples for services. So, no services had been taxed before June 30, 1994. July 1, 1994 onwards, services were also put into the net of taxes. Now, issues with the indirect tax collection. During the sales tax regime, huge tax evasion was one of the major concerns. Complex laws. India is always considered to be a tax lawyer's paradise. Even if you do not pay tax, if you have a tax lawyer, you could survive. So, this was the original notion, the wrong notion that people had. Difficulty to administer tax. Tax laws were so complex that it was very difficult to administer. Same commodities, different states, different taxes. For the same commodity, say rubber, in Kerala the rate of taxation will be one, in Karnataka the rate will be another, the neighboring state it will be another. So, this also posed difficulties in administering taxes. Now, I am going to tell you about what happened before the concept of VAT, value added tax, was introduced in India. Listen, I am considering a commodity A which attracts a tax of 10%. I am talking about the sales tax regime, meaning that prevailed before the introduction of VAT in India. So, I buy from Kochi, very simple, easy to understand. I buy from Kochi a price, the article A that is priced 100 rupee. How much is the tax? 10%. So, 10% of 100, 10 rupee I pay as tax. I bought it for 110. I am a trader. I bought the article A for 110 rupees from Kochi and I took it to Kollam. Kollam is a place where I sell things. The cost is 110. I want a margin of 20 rupee. So, I make the offer of 120. 120 is the offer price. If you come to my shop, you can buy it for 120. But at every point of sale, I have to collect tax. That is the indirect tax regime says. So, 10% of 120, 12 rupees a tax. So, you have to pay me 132 rupees. So, this was what happened during the indirect tax regime, sorry, the sales tax regime. Listen, I am only a facilitator, I am not consuming this product. Every indirect tax has to be paid by the ultimate consumer, the others are only intermediaries or facilitators. So, in 1954, later on it became very popular, VAT became very popular and many countries migrated to the form of value added tax, VAT. So, now this VAT was introduced in India during the early 2000s. So, what is VAT? I shall tell you the same thing, nothing new. I buy, I am a trader doing trade in Kollam, I purchase my commodities from Cochin and sell in Kollam. I am a trader of product A which attracts 10% tax, 100 rupee, 10%, 10 rupee, 110. I take it to Kollam for 110, margin I keep 20, I require 20 rupees margin, my offer price is 120. So, if you come to my shop to buy, you have to pay 10% of 120, 12 rupee. So, 132 rupees, the product is with you. There is no change at all. Now comes the tax administration changes. Look, I have to submit, I have completed the transaction, I bought and sold. Now to the tax authorities I am supposed to give the tax returns. In the tax returns, what is a tax collected, tax payable, tax collected is, that is called output tax. That output tax, meaning the tax collected, is 12 rupee. So I am supposed to give the government 12 rupee. But in the VAT regime, I am given credit for the input tax, meaning the tax that I gave when I purchased the things. What is that? 10 rupee. So input tax credit, input tax is 10 rupee. So the net payable is only 2 rupee. I need to pay output minus input, only 2 rupees I have to pay. So it makes things very simple. I shall explain once again. How much tax have I collected from the government, from my customer? 12 rupee. But how much do I pay now? Only 2. Look, how much have I collected from my buyer? 12 rupee. How much am I paying now? 2, which is paid now, and 10, which is already paid. So I am not losing anything in the game. I am collecting. I have paid 10 rupee earlier. Now I paid 2 rupee. So total 12 is what I am paying to the government, and that 12 I collected from my customer. So I don't lose anything. Now, what is the benefit of the government? Tax evasion could be prevented. Why? Because when I gave the tax returns, the tax that I was supposed to pay was 12 rupee, the tax I collected from my customer, but now I am paying only 2 rupee. So the government will ask me, you are paying only 2 rupee when you had collected already 12 rupee. Then I would tell the government that no, now I am paying only 2, I had already paid 10. So indirectly I am forced to keep both purchase and sales account. This was the big change that VAT regime brought forth. I shall tell you, now the traders are forced to keep both purchase account and sales account. If they don't keep purchase and sales account, they will not be able to get the credit for the input tax. So this has dramatically changed taxation in various parts of the world. India also migrated to VAT taxation. Now I am coming to our most important slide, GST. What is the difference of GST? GST is nothing but a VAT format. Earlier on, VAT was available only within the state. I could purchase from Kochi and I could sell it at Kollam. Both Kochi and Kollam are in Kerala. But now India has become a one single market with the advent of GST. The same thing, I am not going to explain it again, the same thing, but look, here I am purchasing it from Chennai, which is not in Kerala, and I am selling in Kollam. So this has brought forth the dramatic change in the taxation of the whole of India, because India has become a one single tax region, tax union. I can buy it from anywhere from in India I can buy, and I can sell in my place. So I can take the input tax credit for goods that are purchased from outside the state. There is no state wise taxation thing, it is an all India taxation, one country, one tax. That is what the beauty of the goods and services tax. Now GST was rolled out on July 1, 2017. India has become a one single market. Taxes were rationalized across the country, meaning, as I told you earlier, there existed a time when different commodities, the same commodities attracted different taxes in different states. That is no longer there. 4 prevailing rates are 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. These are the 4 tax brackets. Different commodities would attract different commodities belonging to different brackets will attract either 5%, 12%, 18% or 28%. Gold 3%. Gold will attract 3%. Exempted goods 0%. I told you, milk and egg for example, there is no tax. Demerit or sin goods, meaning the goods that the government doesn't want people to consume much, they will attract 28% plus. So effectively there are 4 plus 3, 7 different rates of taxation. Petrol and diesel are not covered under GST. Petrol and diesel, this was a great disappointment. Petrol and diesel are exempted from the purview of GST. What has happened with GST? Look, there were a lot of central government taxes and state government taxes on the same product. When a product is manufactured and before it reaches the final consumer, both the central government and state government would tax at different levels under different names. This was the major problem. So it created a kind of a myopia on taxation. So what GST has brought forth is this: all central government and state government indirect taxes were subsumed from one single goods and services tax. There is no central excise duty, there is no service tax now, there is no additional customs duty, surcharges, octroi, sales tax, VAT, nothing. It end all the entire different kinds of taxes, indirect taxes were subsumed from one single goods and services tax. This was a major reform. Now, when you learn about GST, these are 3 terminologies that you should know: state governments, SGST, central GST and IGST. These are all just terminologies, nomenclatures. These are not different taxes. Suppose a product attracts 10% tax, product's cost is 100. So the shopkeeper will collect 110 rupees from us, 100 rupees for product, 10 rupee tax. This 10 rupee is divided equally between the centre and the states. 5 rupee SGST, 5 rupee CGST. 5 rupee will go to the central government, 5 rupee will go to the state government, that is all. It is not additional tax, but it is only a nomenclature. Now what is IGST? Again, if the transaction is within the state, I buy from Kochi and sell it at Kollam, then of course it is SGST and CGST. Suppose I buy the same product from Chennai, then there is no CGST, it is IGST. It is IGST 10 rupee, and this 10 rupee will be given, 5 rupee will go to the central government and 5 rupee will go to the consuming state. So state government of Kerala, if I purchase a goods from Chennai and consume it in Kerala under a Kerala address, if I purchase, then it is not SGST or CGST, but it is IGST which will be charged. It is again just a nomenclature, and 5 rupee will go to the central government and 5 rupee will come to the state government. So broadly the GST favors consuming states and not producing states. Advantages of GST. Of course, we said a goodbye to informal economy. Economy is formalized. Tax base has become manifold. At every level it is taxed. So tax base has increased. Tax evasion is curbed to a great extent. Tax administration has become easier. Check posts have become obsolete. You see, if you travel from, at any point of time, if you travel from Kollam to or Kerala to Chennai taking the Palakkad, then there is a Walayar check post. It is in the check post that trucks used to lose a lot of time, because you could see a huge lane of parked vehicles, commercial vehicles, and they lost their times there. So truck efficiency was minimized due to check post. Now, thanks to India becoming one tax region, there is no check post. Check posts have become irrelevant. Tax wars among the states ended. I told you that for the same commodity, in Kerala one tax, in Karnataka another rate. So that resulted in tax wars between the states or among the states. that is no longer there. So, these are the advantages of GST. Now, what are the major criticisms of GST? The GST that is introduced in India is a distorted version of GST. Rates are exorbitant, cost of doing business has gone up for small firms, every firm has to account things, so the cost of operations has gone up. Discretionary authority of officials, that is another criticism. Exclusion of many commodities like petrol and diesel. Is there GST in India? Yes. Is there GST for one of the most or the most consumed products like petrol and diesel? No, they are excluded. Center has usurped states authority. Listen, constitutional guarantee was that the sales tax was the prerogative of the states, but with the advent of GST, states had to concede or surrender their authority to tax on goods and services. So, this was also a major criticism of GST. Okay. So, now I am moving on to my regular business of discussing the Hindu. Have you all understood? Hello, got an idea about GST? Please reply, a few people may please. Hello. 2 days ago, I could not come on live with a newspaper analysis. The previous day to that, I had given in our application that the next day I would be talking on a particular topic. For that bulletin, I got around 20-25 likes. Sorry, it got only 8 likes or so for that bulletin that I would be coming the next day. The next day, unfortunately, I could not do the session. Then I wrote an apology bulletin saying that that day it was cancelled, for which there were more than 25 likes. So, that shows that many of you do not are not interested in the program. But anyway, this is one major change that we require to succeed in competitive examinations. You got to read the newspaper, Hindu analysis, Hindu reading is an essential thing. Okay, I am moving on. The Centre firm on farm laws, Bharat Bandh, passed peacefully. In Kerala there was no Bandh. Why? Because of the general elections in Kerala. Government is deeply in trouble because farmers are going to block all the roads to Delhi. I have already explained why the Bandh. Government has failed to take the farmers into confidence. There were no discussions at all, there were no consultations at all. During the peak of COVID, the government came with the farm laws as an ordinance, and later on in September the government passed it in the parliament. So, there have not been any discussions. That is the reason why the farmers are protesting, and of course they have got genuine concerns too, which we discussed in detail, the criticism of the law and why the farmers are opposing to this law. Everest grows taller as China and Nepal reveal new height. Very important, it is very important for your examination too. It was the in the survey of India that Everest height was calculated for the last time, but now through a joint survey, Nepal and China have revised its height as 8,848.86 meters. So, Mount Everest can be climbed from the Nepalese side or from the Chinese side. So, they went for a joint evaluation of the height of Mount Everest, and finally it is calculated as 8,886 meters high from the sea level. Very, very important. This has been a reason for disputes between the two countries, but now they have jointly resolved. Fresh vista. Hindu was slightly criticizing the governmental decision to continue with the Central Vista project. We know that the government is going ahead with an ambitious central secretariat and parliament project by spending around 971 crore rupees. and once it is completed, it will be able to accommodate 888 Lok Sabha MPs and 384 Rajya Sabha MPs. But the total project cost nobody knows. This is only the cost of that building. It will house the Vice President and will house the Prime Minister's residence. So it is going to be a very big project, but that the entire project cost stretching to 3 kilometers, nobody knows what is going to be the project. The Hindu criticism is that in fact a project of this kind should have been taken as a kind of a celebration, but the country is in no mood to celebrate, and this was a bit untimely. That is what the Hindu says, and of course the Supreme Court gave a note to the central government to continue with the project. They can lay the foundation stone, but they cannot start constructing or removing trees until the final orders from the Supreme Court comes out. Anyway, that is it. The government has got an ambitious timeline of 2022 to complete the project. So that is it. The country is going through a very bad time, and at this point of time spending this much of money on an idle construction, is it a commendable one or not, is what the Hindu discusses. Mysore to host International Science Fest, very important, it may come for your examination. Central CFTRI Mysore is going to conduct a 6th All India Science Festival 2020, very important. Tata Sons contest NCLAT order. Listen, these are corporate disputes. A few years ago, Tata Sons chairman Cyrus Mistry was appointed as the Tata Sons chairman, but unceremoniously he was shown the way by the Tata Sons. Ever since then, the dispute has been taking place. National Company Law Appellate Tribunal gave a favourable order to Cyrus Mistry, which is challenged by the Tata Sons, the holding company. What they say is that the essence of the order is that the minority stakeholder is given the authority to control the company. That is their major challenge. We have to closely watch how it is developing. Britain EU strike a deal on Ireland border. I am not going to say too much on this because in detail I spoke about Brexit yesterday. We discussed Brexit yesterday, so I am not going to continue much on that. We know, you know what Brexit is. Yesterday I discussed in detail about Brexit. That is available in the YouTube, so you can watch and try to understand what is going to be the deal that the Britain is going to have when they formally exit from the European Union. They have to make sure that the interest of Ireland and Scotland all are properly taken care of before the Brexit takes place. Sri Lanka to get 300 million Chinese tyre factory. This is a major concern for India. Chinese influence is going up in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka has given consent to China to start a tyre factory, a 300 million tyre factory near the strategic deep sea port. India does not like Chinese influence in countries around India. Chinese influence is going up in Nepal. It is already evident in Sri Lanka, and of course China has got good connection with Pakistan also. So India is a bit disturbed by the Chinese thing. Listen, in 2017 Hambantota port in Sri Lanka was leased to Chinese company, and Sri Lanka, why? Because Sri Lanka failed to service a 1.4 billion debt that Beijing had given to Sri Lanka. So this is what I told you a few days ago in another context, that Chinese influence is going up in the world like anything, and they are giving debt to many African countries, and when those countries fail to repay the loan or service the loan, China has started even influencing their foreign policies, which may not be good for the world. Stakeholders must unite for timely 5G rollout, says Prime Minister Modi. He was speaking through a webinar, the India Mobile Congress 2020. So, how 5G is going to get rolled out in India is what everybody is looking at. Centre unveils fourth bid to fully privatize Pawan Hands. It's a government company, Pawan Hands. Government is going to sell its stake in Pawan Hands also. Government has listed a lot of companies. Air India is for sale, IOC is for sale, Pawan Hands is also for sale. So, government has listed out a lot of companies, government companies for sale. So, Pawan Hands, its total liabilities come to around 650 crore. What is going to happen is that private corporations will be able to buy these government companies at a very cheap price, for sometimes even on the basis of wrong valuations. Manufacturing services lead recovery, says State Bank of India. State Bank of India's economic research department says that economic recovery has already started, and that is led by manufacturing and services. Please read. Thank you very much. I consumed more than usual time today, but I believe that we got a good idea about, we were able to make a good idea about GST. That was heartening. So, I believe you were benefited by the program, you liked the program. Please tell your friends about our program. Let us have a good number of people, let us have good communication. I am a bit disappointed by the minimum number of people who participate. Of course, after the session I know that many people are watching, but still I am disappointed considering the students base that we have through the application. The number of people who watching the program is highly disappointing. Anyway, I hope that in the days to come you will show more interest and you will find the benefit of the program. At 3 o'clock we shall meet again with another session on mathematics or reasoning. Till then, goodbye.